Alright friends, hello and welcome back to my channel. It has been much longer than I would have liked it to have been since my last video, and in my last video I talked about kind of getting back in the swing of things with BookTube and excited to start filming and making videos again and getting back into reading more. And pretty quickly after that video, things just totally changed and got a lot more kind of crazy and chaotic, and all of the BookTube stuff kind of got pushed to the back burner. And now that things are leveling out a little bit more, I'm excited to hopefully get back into things a little bit. I don't know obviously how active I'll be, how much I'll get to film and upload and things like that, but I do really enjoy having this creative outlet and getting to talk about books. So it's something that I, try to get to. So bear with me. And that this video is going to be a little bit of a reading update. What I've read this first quarter, January, February, March. March is almost over, not quite. So I'm hoping to be able to finish some of the things that I have in progress. And then also a little bit of a life update because that affects my reading, and without getting too much into things, I kind of want to share a little bit of why, when I need to take a little bit of more time away, kind of what's going on behind the scenes. Alright, back with the little buddy. He is a very good sleeper, but every once in a while prefers a good carrier nap, which I can't blame him, and I love the snuggles, so we're gonna see if we can get through this together. But I do think he will probably fall asleep pretty soon. I was saying a little bit also of a life update, kind of what's going on, and why maybe I will disappear for a little bit of time. So yeah, anyways, so let's start with that kind of before we get into the books. So little guy is doing amazing. He's doing really, really well, but we did find out that he has a rare disease. Without kind of getting into too much details, it is something that is more common side of a rare disease. And so it is very treatable, and there's really good outcomes and all of that stuff that you want, but it does mean a very major surgery that would happen. And that's not very fun to think about at any age, your kid going through major surgery, especially when they're so tiny. And so we have been kind of dealing with all of the emotions of that and figuring things out. And right now we have a plan. We're still gathering some more kind of information and opinions and things, but it looks like it's not going to be happening as quickly as we thought, and probably more around the 1.5-year age mark for him. And so yeah, kind of waiting and sitting with knowing that that's going to happen, but it's not happening immediately is not always super fun or easy. As hard as it is to know kind of that is coming in the future, I do take a lot of peace in knowing that it is something that affects a lot of people still, and it's something that a lot of people have gone through, and the surgery is really scary and it sounds awful, and like you don't want to think about it too much, but also it has really good results, and in general it should be okay. That's kind of what's going on over here. If I start like rocking and stuff, sorry, maybe treat this more like a podcast and listen to if if that seems super annoying, sorry. What's going on here, and it was a lot of appointments and a lot of medical stuff going on for a while. Things have kind of evened out into a more regular pace now, which is good. But yeah, if you were here when I was pregnant, there was lots of appointments and things going on that kind of eventually resulted in nothing. And when we kind of started hearing that there might be something, I kind of had a feeling that this time it would actually be something. It wasn't just a false alarm, and that was the case. So, luckily we have a really good team of people, of different doctors, and we have a lot of information. As hard as it is, there's a lot of support, so that's a good thing. But it does kind of mean that there have been periods of time where I have not been reading a lot, And even now, I'm still reading very, very slowly. I'm starting to get back into the swing of things, but I've just also found that my reading mood is very different, maybe even than what I expected it to be, and I'm just really craving whimsical books, really craving stories with a lot of hope, and obviously that comes from kind of my current state of mind. But yeah, so anyways, we'll get into the books, what I've been reading, and kind of what I'm hoping to read maybe in the future. So this first quarter has been kind of a mixed bag in terms of reading. I've read some good things, I've read a fair amount of meh things, as I've been kind of figuring out what my reading mood is also. Alright, I've read a fair amount of series, or started a fair amount of series this year. So I was really in the mood in January and a little bit in February, I think too, for mysteries. So I started some Miss Marple mysteries. I've never read any of the Marple books, and I really enjoyed it. So I read the first 3. I think my plan is to read them in chronological, or in the series order. I know you don't necessarily have to. I think there are like a few exceptions that there's like, you should read this book before you read this book, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in the series order. But it's not that long of a series. There aren't that many books, so I feel like I'm just going to go ahead and more or less try to follow the order, with the exception of like if I'm really in the mood for one and there's like a long library hold, I might like skip ahead to the next one if it's available, kind of thing. But anyway, I read the first 3, and of those 3, Murder at the Vicarage is probably my favorite. That was the first one. And I just loved getting to meet all of the townspeople. I really liked Miss Marple. I really do like Miss Marple's character, and she's definitely more present in that first book than she is in particularly the third one. She was not very present at all. She kind of showed up at like the 70 or 80% mark, and I was just waiting. I was like, where is she? Like, is she just going to pop out of a bush? Like, what is happening? And all of a sudden she did basically just pop out of a bush and show up. So I really like her character. I like when she's more involved in the story. And the townspeople is really fun. Like, I love that small town English village kind of setting, so I love when you get a lot of the interactions and daily life kind of things happening. The mystery in the first one I thought was also really interesting. I like the mystery in the third one. I think that's it as well. But yeah, I was in a big mystery mood. I think I've kind of moved out of the mystery mood, so I haven't been I haven't made any progress. I know the fourth one, A Murder is Announced, is supposed to be really good. It's on Agatha Christie's list of her favorite books that she wrote. So I'm excited to get to that when the mystery mood kicks back in. So there's that. I have mentioned, I think, in a couple videos that I've been reading through the Betsy Tacy series. I'm up to book 7. I finished book 7. I'm on book 8. It's Betsy and Joe, and I'm enjoying it so much. It is the perfect kind of physical read for me right now because a lot of my reading is Kindle, and so when I do get the chance to read a little bit of a physical book, it's often for not very long. I might just get a couple pages. I might, if I'm really lucky, like get a chapter or 2. Like, that's kind of crazy. But I'm making really, really slow progress in physical books right now. And this is just perfect. I can pick it up, I can quickly read a couple pages, and when I pick it up the next time, I know exactly where I am. It doesn't require a lot of mental energy, and I can go days, even weeks without reading and just find myself right back where I was, and it's just such a lovely book. So now Betsy is a senior in high school, and she was kind of driving me a little bit nuts junior year, to be honest, because she has a tendency to make all of these really great goals and just completely forgets about them like 10 seconds afterwards. And I found that kind of annoying. I also was kind of annoyed she starts a sorority because her older sister has gone off to university and talks about the sororities at university, and so she decides that she's going to start a sorority with like her high school girlfriends, and it ends up kind of taking over, and they only spend time with the boys who create the fraternity, and there's like all this stuff going on, and it just seems kind of ridiculous, like obviously the kind of ridiculousness you would get up to in high school, but I didn't really like it as much, and I was really happy when that kind of all dissipated. So anyways, I'm looking forward to continuing the Betsy books and just having them as a nice companion when I get to have a little bit of physical book reading time. I started At Home in Mitford. So this is the first book in the Mitford series, and I've heard so many people talking about the Mitford books, particularly Kate Hale, but I know other people. And oh, I just love it so much. Again, something I'm making very slow progress in, just really savoring it and enjoying it. But that doesn't mean that it hasn't captured my attention or that I find it boring in any way. I often will read and finish a chapter, and the chapters are on the longer side, I feel, and I want to keep reading. It is a book that I have stayed up late a couple nights reading, and I find it so beautifully written, so captivating. I love all of the characters. We're following this Anglican priest in a little town in Tennessee in the mountains. Is it in Tennessee? I'm not sure. It's in the mountains. And he is in his 60s. I think he's 61. And he's not married. And he is really devoted to his vocation. And he spends a lot of time visiting people and talking to people and visiting people who are sick or, you know, in different circumstances. And he's just this wonderful man, and you get to meet all of these other people in the town, and there's just this really tight-knit community, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful story. That's all I have to say. I'm enjoying it so much, and really looking forward to continuing on in the series and having those books to enjoy. So obviously I'm not going to talk about every single book I've read in the first quarter. I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights because there's a lot of books I just kind of felt meh about and don't have a lot to say, and I don't feel like forcing myself to say that. So anyway, we're just going to kind of hit the highlights. Oh my goodness. Okay, another first in a series that I am very excited to read, and that is the Miss Buncle books. So the first one being Miss Buncle's book by D.E. Stevenson. Oh, this book was so much fun. I was not expecting it to be as funny as it was. It was so funny. And just, again, so well written, so enjoyable. Buncle, who at the very beginning has written a novel, and she sends it off to the publishers, and has gotten news that it has been accepted by a publisher. And the book gets published. She does not use her name because she has written a very true to life story of her village. All of the people that she knows, they appear in the story. Fiction in the story. People's descriptions are very true to who they are. There's even like conversations that are word for word the same in the novel as in real life. And so when this book gets published, it becomes a bestseller, and people in the village very quickly realize, like, wait, this story is about us, because not a lot of things have been changed. And there's kind of this whole chaos that ensues because they want to figure out who wrote this book about them. And yeah, it's just really fun. I loved Miss Buncle. I loved all of these kind of crazy characters in the town, the townspeople. And yeah, D.E. Stevenson is an author that I've really enjoyed. What I've read so far, I'm excited to read more, and especially in this this Miss Buncle series. Continuing in the theme of series, I have this one behind me. Maybe I can reach for it. Here it is. Alright, continuing in the series, I have one physical book to hold up and show. My Betsy Tacy books are all downstairs. Otherwise, you know, I would have held that one up as well. Well, the ones that I finished are back here, and then the one I'm currently reading is downstairs. Anyway, Emily Climbs by Ella Montgomery, I read, and I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this much more, actually, than Emily of New Moon, the first book. I feel like Emily is just a little bit more mature. She's grown up a little bit, and she's able to kind of look at things in a bit of a more mature way. And yes, so she is a bit older now. She's still following her dream of being a writer, and she gets to go off to school, but she has to make a promise that she won't write any fiction while she is away, and she has to only focus on writing things that are true. And for Emily, this seems almost impossible, but she wants so badly to have an education that she willingly gives this up and turns to only writing things that are true. And yeah, we just see a lot of growth in Emily. We get to follow her group of friends also, who we met in the first book, and I really enjoyed this. Obviously the cover is very wintry, so I was excited to read this in winter. It was on my winter TBR. And yeah, I really loved Emily's character. Like I said, you get to see a lot of growth in this second book, and I really enjoyed it. Another second book in a series that I read was A Father Before Christmas by Neil Boyd. I read this back in January, early January. And this is the exact kind of opposite reading experience from Emily, where I enjoyed the second book much less than the first book. I found it to be less funny. In the first book, I was laughing constantly. I laughed much less in the second book. I don't know why. I connected with it less in that way. Also, I was kind of disappointed because I read the first book back in August, sometime this summer. So I'd waited a long time to read the second book, A Father Before Christmas, because I thought it's going to be very Christmassy. It's going to take place during Christmas time, and I don't want to read that until, you know, December, January. So I waited, and then I was so excited. I think I picked it up like a couple days after, you know, a couple days into the Christmas season, and I was so disappointed because nothing Christmassy happens until the very last chapter. And in my opinion, that doesn't really make it a Christmas book if, you know, the majority of the book takes place in fall. I think it starts maybe early fall and kind of extends until Christmas. So I thought that was really a bummer. I wish I wouldn't have saved it and like built up this anticipation of it being a Christmassy book, because it wasn't. But other than that, I am still enjoying the series. I still want to read the other books because I think overall they're funny and a nice light-hearted kind of read. But I was a little bit disappointed in this one. Okay, and then my last book, which is technically part of a series, but from what I understand, the books are following different characters, so it's like not a series you really have to read consecutively, and that is The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. I read this for February fairy tale retellings, and I absolutely loved this. This was definitely the highlight of all the fairy tale retellings that I read. This one is just so beautifully written. Just absolutely poetic and full of whimsy and all the kinds of things that I was in the mood for. We're following this young princess who is the heir. She is set to become queen, and her mother doesn't really love her. She's kind of a cold woman, and she sends her off to marry this prince of another kingdom to kind of form an alliance between the two kingdoms. And she gets sent off on her way, and along the journey, there's a rebellion. People rise up against her, and they want this other girl who is her, you know, childhood friend to become the queen. And she is basically sent, she runs away, she escapes, and manages to make it to this other kingdom. But the other girl, her childhood friend got there first, and everyone thinks that she is the princess. And so obviously our main character kind of has to go into hiding and kind of figure out what she's going to do. How is she going to convince everyone that she's actually the princess? And so she takes a job taking care of the geese in the palace. And that's kind of all I want to say. There's a lot of beautiful friendship that develops in this story. It's just beautiful descriptions, and I really enjoyed this one. And I've heard a lot of good things about the other books that Shannon Hale has written, so I look forward to that at some point. I think that's it for this series that I've read. I'm scrolling through my Goodreads to see kind of what else pops up. I did a buddy read with Anne from In Search of Wonder. We read The Practice of the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence, and I really enjoyed this. Also, very short, but very impactful. Just a beautiful, beautiful account of how your everyday actions can be oriented towards God and, you know, finding purpose and peace kind of in those everyday moments. And Brother Lawrence was, I believe, a cook in his monastery for most of his time. He had a lot of time, a lot of moments to pray kind of in the drudgery of being a cook. There's just a lot of wisdom gained from him. He, you know, spent all of this time really reflecting, praying, and growing in his relationship with God. And it made me think of Saint Therese a lot and her little way. And yeah, I'm really glad that I read this. I can see why it's a spiritual classic. Then the last thing that I think I want to talk about is Kiki's Delivery Service by Aiko Kadono. Well, my camera cut me off, and I'm not sure where it cut me off, so we're just going to maybe end it here. And yes, I am looking forward to... Oh no. I'm looking forward to getting back into reading, back into the swing of things, watching more BookTube, because I haven't really been watching much lately in this new season of life. The time, you know, everything kind of changes and flips around. So hopefully I will find some ways to do that. I do have a big road trip coming up, so maybe I will listen to a bunch of the BookTube videos that I've been wanting to. For your patience as I kind of, you know, navigate and figure things out in this new season, new changes, and I am looking forward to getting back to making videos and talking about books. I always love getting to talk in the comments with you, and yes, anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!